Okay, so let's talk about Straight Outta Compton. So you've gotten a few roles. I mean, they're not major roles yet.
Right.
How did you first hear about Straight Outta Compton?
So I had been reading for some big roles like for a while. Like I read for this movie called The Lottery Ticket with Bow Wow. And I'm going back and forth to Atlanta, like, doing a bunch of auditions time after time after time, just what they call chemistry reads, right? Like Brandon T. Jackson actually was the guy who ended up getting the role that I was going for, So they were looking for like this like little gang of people who hung out on the porch and, would kind of have these scenes with Bow Wow. So this guy, I never forget him. His name is Mark Fincannon. He pulls me out of the room. He takes his glasses off and he was like, Jason, you're going to have a great career. But unfortunately, on camera, you look too much like Bow Wow. And unfortunately for you, the world knows who he is. So he's going to sell more tickets, And like, it would make sense if you guys were like brothers or something in the movie, but we need somebody who doesn't look too much like him. So I'm thinking to myself, fuck, like this is just so discouraging, So my agent, she knew I was kind of going through this, right? Because every actor has this happen. Like you get so many more no's than yeses. So she pulls up to my house one day, which she never does, and she was like, I got something for you I think you could really, really get. So I'm like, what is it? So she's like, yes, it's this movie Straight Outta Compton. They gave you an audition for Eazy-E. I'm like, wait a minute. So they got some swing and a miss out there. I'm not gonna lie. Normally for these biopics, like they're hard to land. Like a lot of people have tried, and the movie was a swing and a miss. So initially, I'm thinking to myself, like, if this ain't gonna be some crazy big picture movie, like, it could be the wrong thing for me to do. And she was like, nah. Ice Cube's involved, Universal's involved, Dr. Dre is involved. I'm like, oh, yes. So they ain't gonna mess it up. Like, they ain't gonna mess up their own shit. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, let's do it. So what's funny about this whole situation, like I was saying before, I used to do all of these different impressions. And I always thought that it was funny being from New Orleans because, we got like, I don't know what language that we actually speak, but it's definitely not English. You know what I mean? Like, we still working on proper English. So we thought it was funny to hear these guys like Lorenz Tate, and old dog, you hear these gangsters talking on TV like, hey, Buster, they pronounce every syllable of every word and all of that. So I always used to like mock this California accent. So I'm thinking to myself, like, I might be able to really do this, So I go over these scenes. It's like 5 or 6 scenes. And I go to this lady, Megan Lewis, and we put it on tape, right? And Megan, she's from Boston, so she's every bit of Boston. She's one of those casting directors who actors fear. Like she's not there to be your friend at all. She's just really not friendly. But after this specific audition, I'm crying at the end because it was like these the hospital scenes that I had to do at the end, right? So I'm like crying, butterflies are leaving my stomach. I'm like, oh, I got through it. So I look up and Megan's crying and I'm like, what? She double high fives me, walk me to my car. I'm like, wait, this is not the Megan Lewis that I know. Like, this is a whole different lady for sure. But she was like, nah, like, I really, really think that you can get this. So I'm like, all right. So maybe like 30 days passed, bro. I'm thinking, I might have did a good job, but like, they ain't gonna call me. And then they call me and they like, F. Gary Gray, the director, wants to have you fly out to Los Angeles. And I'm like, well, the way my life's set up, you know what I'm saying? I can't exactly just move around like that, right? Because this was before the probation letter came that said that I was free. So I'm like, I don't really know if I could do that, and I don't know if I can afford that because if I come out there and it's not a for sure yes that I got the part, like it could be just wasted money, right? So this is before Zoom and all that. This was when Skype was out. So he was like, they called me back in like 30 minutes and was like, he just wants to Skype with you. Like, okay, cool. So we Skyped for 1 hour and 17 minutes. We did. I mean, it's just like me and you on this virtual situation right now. Like, you know, we was going back and forth at it. And then, yeah, man. That's how I booked straight out of Compton without even flying to California. I had ever been to California ever in my life. Like, you know, yeah, it was a big deal.
How'd you feel when you were told that you got the role?
You know, what's crazy about that is I never actually heard those words. I never heard those words. You booked it or you got it. None of that. So we went out, did some more chemistry reads, right? Cause I was going through this process helping them find Ice Cube and Dr. Dre. Right. So I'm out there for like a week going through all these different auditions and all of these different people. And they got me there with this guy named Aaron Spicer, who's like, he's like a Susan Batson, you know, or a Dustin Felder, one of those guys who's behind the scenes, but like is one of those celebrity acting coaches, you know? So he's like, yeah, man, you know, just throw some different shit at him. You know, just take your time when you're doing this. Just give him good stuff to react to. You know, catch him off guard. Punch him in the face. I'm like, okay, you know, so I'm just doing what I do. But in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't see no other person who's auditioning for Eazy-E. But at the same time, from what I heard, his daughter wanted to play it. One of his sons wanted to play it. Like, you know, so I didn't know.
Wait. His daughter wanted to play Eazy-E.
Yeah,
What?
EB was like, yeah, you can dress me up and, you know, makeup can make me look like a guy. It'll be like an Oscar-winning performance. You know what I mean? Like, she definitely wanted to try. She was like, I look so much like him. I was like, all right. You know what I mean? But,
okay.
so yeah, on the day, I never forget, when I first met O'Shea, they were like, you know, who do you think should play Ice Cube? And I pointed him out and I'm like, you know, he's great, you know, but they didn't really believe in him that much because he had never really acted in nothing else. He had been working with Susan Batson for like the last 2 years though, but I'm like, he's raw, but he's good, you know what I mean? And he looks freakishly like Ice Cube. And I didn't, you know, so I look on the paper and I see his name and I'm like, yo, O'Shea Jackson Jr. You know, I'm just using my better judgment and I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out and say you're his son. And he was like, yeah, you know. And I just couldn't believe that they had him sitting through this process, right? And it wasn't until then that it clicked in my mind, like, wait, I might be the only Eazy-E, right? So I asked Aaron, I'm like, bro, is there anybody else like auditioning for Eazy-E? And he was like, do you see anybody else? And I was like, what the fuck, you know? So I went to somebody else, a producer, my friend, Mercedes Lindsay. I went to her and was like, is there anybody else? She was like, do you see anybody else? I'm like, what the fuck? Why is everybody giving me the same answer? Right? So they ended up flying me back home, and then a week later they called me out and they was like, yeah, we're ready to start pre-production so you guys can start rehearsals and stuff. And I was like, so I got it? They was like, oh yeah, your agent didn't talk to you? And I was like, what the fuck, man? Nobody ever actually said the words, you got the role. Not even my agent, which was crazy. So I was like, damn. So it was one of those moments where like I had to look myself in the mirror and be like, you got it. Yeah, crazy.